what perhaps may be more interesting to people watching here, I did just have this up and I lost it. I know you have it up already. So we're going to look at Nuclear Herbs, again, our favorite attorney on Twitter. And he had some thoughts about potentially a timeline for this case, more so about like Richard Hart streaming again. Now that's something that you and I mean, sure, I would welcome it. It would be cool to see that. I haven't, you and I, neither of us really have been one of those that are like clamoring for it. And like, we will only be able to go up when Richard Hart is streaming. I mean, we haven't said that. And
No.
You and I mean, candidly, just talking to everybody here, we are grossed out when we see the people like, can Richard do something about the price? Where's Richard? That's not, we are not that. So, we understand that this is a blockchain. And I mean, part of the decentralization is like, we have our own validators out there. We have everybody doing their own work. So not looking for Richard to really do anything here. But that said, sure, definitely would love to see him stream again. Would love to see him out there being interviewed like he was in the Hex days and, talking about it to other people, just like with Pulse Chain. So Nuclear Herb says he was responding to Sami and he gave a synopsis. He said, "Let me start by saying I have no idea what advice Richard is getting, but you can expect it to be both A, really good, and B, really expensive. As we all know, it's not like Richard to keep quiet. So if he's doing so, you can reasonably assume that he's acting in accordance with advice from legal counsel. I can't think of another explanation that makes sense. Me, I used to tell every client in active litigation to shut up until the case was over, period. Don't talk to your friends, mom, dad, cousin, or dog, and especially not your girlfriend, boyfriend, who may wind up hating you before the case is resolved in a few years. Don't put anything in an email you don't want to read to a jury. Don't text anything about the case to anyone. Don't ever forward an email from your attorney to anyone because it destroys attorney-client privilege. Also, you never know who's at the next table at the bar. Hey, it could be James O'Keefe in a wig or something like that, or a restaurant listening to you complain about your case, and it could be an investigator hired by the other side. Nothing you say to anyone beside your attorney or spouse in most cases is privileged, so either you or whoever you spoke to or both could be subpoenaed to testify under oath at deposition or a trial. Having your best friend subpoenaed to testify against you isn't going to be fun time for either of you." Jeez, he really went in on this. Keep in mind that you can usually only hurt yourself by talking. It's like being drunk and trying to explain yourself to a cop. That makes sense. Let me skip ahead here a bit. So there are lots and lots of fun ways to F yourself in litigation, and even though your lawyer will make far more money trying to fix whatever problem you created, they would still prefer not to have to. Lawyers manage risk. If you boil down our profession, it comes down to that. We manage risk through contracts, prenups, estate plans, corporate bylaws. Clients, on the other hand, create the risk we have to manage. If you keep your client from adding to the risk you have to manage, everyone's happy. So why do some founders keep streaming while Richard stays silent? I have some ideas, but I don't particularly want to share them until after some of the issues in his motion to dismiss are decided, particularly the jurisdictional arguments. Given the sometimes ludicrous things judges have relied on to grab jurisdiction over someone, not just in crypto cases, but in many other types, it seems like a solid plan for Richard to not add anything that could even potentially be used against him. That said, jurisdiction will be argued in October. A decision should be out 60 to 90 days after that. Could be earlier, could be later, but that's what I would tell everyone to expect. If the court finds no jurisdiction over Richard, the case is gone and he could do as he wants. So we're looking, by like January 2025, if they would rule against jurisdiction, which, Nuclear Herbs and other credible people have said they have a pretty damn good argument. Pulse Chain does about jurisdiction. If the court finds that it has jurisdiction over Richard, that issue is decided for the remainder of the case, barring some other stuff. So if he is getting advice to stay quiet pending the outcome of that issue, his attorneys may feel like there's less of a problem with him streaming. That's interesting. He says, just my thoughts. I could be wrong. Not legal advice, obviously, all that. So great stuff from Nuclear Herbs. We wish him well. Thank him for this. I didn't really notice that last part before, that they said even if the jurisdiction were to not go the way of Richard's attorneys, even though we think that there's a great argument against the SEC there, it sounds like that there may be less reason for him to stay quiet or anything. It sounds like, and he could still stream. So
that's what it sounds like to me. So yeah, that's kind of the way he worded it. If it's dropped, it's dropped, and he'll stream. If it's not dropped and they do find that they do have jurisdiction, he'll still stream. So maybe that's kind of the way I understood that.
Me too. Obviously, a total dismissal with the jurisdiction thing is phenomenal. I mean, that's what
Yeah,
everybody's
absolutely.
clamoring for. And the reason that we say that it's a worthwhile argument, we've talked about this many times before, is that they wanted it in the southern, I think it's the Southern District in New York, because that's where they put everything.
Mhm.
And their
Yeah,
reasoning was literally like at least one developer of Uniswap lives there, and at least one investor in Pulse Chain or Hex.
right,
And it's
right.
like, okay, that may be true. As I always make the joke of like Omaha, Nebraska, too. Why does it have to be there? You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't think they have a good argument there. That is the ideal scenario, that we find out by January 2025 that this just gets dismissed because of jurisdiction. If not, obviously everybody's confident. Nobody's concerned about the SEC. I mean, like nobody at this point. I think it was cleared up a little bit when Richard announced, like, "Hey, I've got a team of 11 lawyers, and we're fighting for DeFi, and we're going to, take down the SEC." Since nobody's concerned about it. Nobody's concerned about it in the world of crypto, and I can tell you that because everybody's using Uniswap every single day. We even have the bankless estrogen boys every day, fawning over Uniswap and stuff like that. Nobody's worried about the SEC, and Uniswap's is under attack as Pulse Chain is by the SEC.
Yep.
So, if they're not worried about it, there's no reason we should be worried about it. So yeah, what do you make of all that? And about the jurisdiction argument? And yeah, it sounds like possibly he could get back to streaming, maybe even if the case was continuing and for some reason they still kept said that they had jurisdiction.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great. Again, you or I aren't one of the ones that say, man, this will never go up until he starts streaming again. He's been active. He could have completely disappeared. He could have stopped tweeting, and he didn't. So, I mean, that's one way to look at it. He'll be back when he can be back. I don't think, he's always kind of said, Satoshi disappeared and I'm still here fighting for you guys. So, the moment he can, he will. The moment he deems it right, he will. He may still be trying to wash out people that don't believe. That could be part of it too. Maybe his lawyers said, yeah, go ahead, stream. It's not a big deal. It's just be careful what you say.
Right.
Richard's always been very careful how he worded things. That's one of the things that I will give him credit for, is he's always worded things properly. He planned for a lot of that stuff ahead. He was always very careful about price predictions. He wouldn't do it. He would say how things were designed and how many X's they were designed to do, but he would never give a price prediction of what he thought it would do. He could give price predictions of Bitcoin and Ethereum, but not his own stuff. So again, he's always been very careful of the way he spoke. And maybe it's on his decision to not stream. Maybe he's still trying to wash people out, rinse them, get rid of the lettuce hands. And maybe they said it's perfectly fine. So I don't know. That's just another thought that you guys need to think about, is maybe it's not lawyers. Maybe it's him. Maybe he is not ready for the bull market to start yet. So he does have good timing. He does have good timing.
Yeah, and I will say, like, we got that Christmas, not stream, but video upload from him, the end of last year, which, I don't know how advised maybe that would have been, but he was just kind of giving his overall thoughts on things. He did say a couple saucy things, though, on that even that were pretty interesting. And that was even before the announcement of the team of lawyers and stuff. Now, I'm sure he already had them ready to go, but we didn't. Nobody else knew about it yet. So, yeah, either way, I mean, there's no concern from either of us with the SEC really against literally anything in crypto that they're trying to do right now. So I don't think anybody takes them seriously. And, the bull market's starting. We get this news with the ETH ETF. We're seeing the DIMs flip and support this stuff out with Gary Gensler. I mean, we're just in bullish times now. These are the things that happen in bullish times,
Yep.
And it's the opposite.
Yeah, and that could be another bullish thing too that happens if the election, and the whole changing of the guards as far as the SEC goes. You get different people appointed, you get all that different things. Maybe that timing, well, it'll be October, so it would be right before that happens. Be interesting to have that pushed back a couple weeks, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it would. Yeah. So we'll see. I forget what day that is in October. But I think it's
20,
towards the end of the month.
26th, I believe.
Yeah.
26th or 29th or something like that.
Yeah. It's towards the end of the month. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is towards the end of the month. Yeah. Okay. So good stuff there. And again, really appreciate Nuclear Herbs giving that info, especially with what he's going through right now.